The HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler.
Welcome back to the HoneyDew, y'all. We're over here doing it in the Night Pants Studios. I'm Ryan Sickler. You can follow me on social media at Ryan Sickler, ryansickler.com. Please subscribe to the YouTube. I see how many of you are watching. The community has grown. Like I said, I don't know when these episodes will air, but within a year, we've built it to like 100,000. And I don't know what other people are out there doing. That might not be shit. I really don't know, but I fucking think it's pretty good. So thank you for your support. I love to see the community going. The guests, the stories are just fantastic. And the Patreon, if you want another episode a week, go subscribe to the Patreon. It's $5 a month. If you sign up for a year, you get a month free. And again, I don't know when this is going to air because we're recording ahead because Ash is moving to Austin like everybody else. Beginning May 1st, you're going to get the HoneyDew for free, ad-free a day early, all right? Ad-free a day early at no additional, I guess it is free. I'm not charging you until maybe 2022. We'll see about that. But anyway, subscribe. And if you or someone you know has that story that's got to be heard, please submit it to honeydewpodcast@gmail.com. And I know that's a lot of money for some people right now, especially after what we're all going through. And if you have it, hey, I'd love to have you. And you do not need to be a Patreon member to submit your story. All right. You guys know I record here at the Santa Monica Music Center. We're working with Outreach Through the Arts right now, teaching the kids how to podcast. They got a great show we're still working on here now, and very excited to bring that to you. As I am very excited to bring this guest to you today. All right, you guys know what we do here. We highlight the lowlights. These are the stories behind the storytellers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the HoneyDew for the first time, Chris Duffin, y'all. Welcome to the HoneyDew, my man.
Thank you, man. I'm really looking forward to some conversation today.
I love that you're here. I appreciate you reaching out. Before we begin anything, please plug, promote everything you have. Do it up.
Everything.
This is Chris Duffin time. Whatever you want.
You know, I'm not big at plugging things. If you follow the stories and you wanna check stuff out, it's pretty easy. Just go to my personal website, Chris Duffin. That's like muffin, but with a D. All right, really simple. Or ChristopherDuffin.com. If you're listening to this on some device, you type that thing in the little Google window or whatever. My name will pop up. If you get on social media, you type in Chris Duffin. You don't need to remember any avatar or whatever the things are. I'll pop up. I got the little blue check thing there next to me. So follow along. I do stuff around, improving mostly in the physical realm, but we're going to talk mental stuff today because I do a lot on that.
Yeah.
But everything that I do is I sell the best biomechanically sound barbells and products in the world at Kabuki Strength. It's Kabuki strength.com. Coaching and education. We work with 90% of professional sports teams in North America.
Is that right?
We work with
the Ravens.
I don't know all the teams right. I'm terrible.
Orioles, Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yep.
You should just say yeah, even if you don't make me feel
so.
Good.
Major League Baseball.
They need some motherfucking help.
We work with
help them out, please.
There's 30 teams. We work with 29 of them, for example. So when I say 90%,
Yeah,
I mean like it's any major college you listen to, big Marvel Studios actors for the current movie, all the actors for Black Adam, and Dwayne Johnson uses our stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
the
you're
starting line for the
solid as
Lakers,
fuck,
everyone. So,
and I love the
best
shirt.
of the best. So
I love the whiskey and
then,
deadlifts.
We could talk about that.
Yeah.
And Barefoot Athletics. So best and minimalist shoe as far as improving foot mechanics around. That's Bear, like BEAR, and you'll understand why the reference to bears for barefoot once we get into these stories.
I want to check those out.
And then if you lift weights and use supplements, Build Fast Formula. That's mine as well. So I'm kind of all over the place. Yeah. Everything that I do and believe in, I bring to life.
All right. I love that, dude. I love that. And I love what you said, too. We're here to talk about mental health today with you specifically because you emailed your list. I ask people to put their trauma in a list, and it just hits different when you list your trauma. If you've never done it before where you write it out and you're like, oh, my God, I've been through some shit, But you have quite a story. So let me ask you.
There is
go
a
ahead.
best-selling book.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got a
best-selling
book.
autobiography, The Eagle and the Dragon. I actually read the audio version too, so it's unavailable on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Audible, all that sort of stuff. Link through my website as well, and if you can get a free audio download through my website. So
Oh, that's great.
That's really cool.
All right. So you, where are you originally from?
That's a tough one to pin down. All over the wilderness of Northern California and Eastern Oregon.
Okay, so you're a wilderness family.
Wilderness. Yes.
Like you said, you mentioned something at 6. So just take me there. Like, do you have brothers and sisters?
I got 3 sisters and a brother.
And you guys were all out in the wilderness
Yes.
with both parents?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, just 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There's a meadow, a little stream running through it in the mountains. No roads into this. And next to that little stream, that's our campsite. We've got beams lashed up into the trees.
And when you say campsite, what are you living in? Tent?
No, the beams lashed into the trees. Our bedding's up there because there's rattlesnakes.
Like tree fort we're talking about?
Yes, tree forts.
Wait, you lived in a tree?
Yes, I lived in a tree fort. Usually it was tents or, a condemned home or something of that nature. But at this time, it was tree forts. This is Northern California. This is up in the Trinity Wilderness, just off of Humboldt County.
Mm-hmm. I've been up there.
Yeah. In the 80s, there's pretty wild territory, people running around with machine guns and things like that out there because the weed growing.
Yeah, I've
was pretty
seen
heavy.
Murder Mountain.
Yeah. So that's where we lived because that's what my parents did in a manner trying to make money.
Okay. So
but
they
also,
grew.
yes,
Gotcha.
but it was bigger, just more of not wanting to be part of society. So 6 years old, I'm sitting there and I've got a live rattlesnake in my hand, right? And it's
That's a hell of a sentence.
I'm holding its head, pinched right
what are
behind
you
the jaws,
talking about?
between
How big?
It was wrapped all the way down around my forearm, which is like it's silky smooth, like it's just this coldness,
I've had one on my neck,
And
not a
then-
rattlesnake, but a black snake. Fuck that.
And
Wait, you're 6 and you're squeezing it where the mouth is
yes,
open.
because you have to keep the mouth
Yeah.
open and controlled, and it's sitting there
In order to do what? What is the point of this?
to overcome fear for most part, right? I mean,
Fuck that.
I'm not fucking kidding you.
Who's teaching you this lesson? This is your dad or your mom?
My stepfather.
Oh, your stepfather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well-
It sounds like some stepfather shit.
And it's just
I'm
sitting there.
one, so I can say
It's
it.
sitting there. It's got those snake eyes, like
Yeah.
a real thing.
Fuck yeah.
Staring you in the eye, and it's
It's
sitting there
also
hissing.
a rattlesnake.
It's sitting there hissing it, and like
Is that
if-
fucking going on your
no,
arm? and shit?
not when it's like that. So that's when they're coiled in the bush,
Okay.
ready to strike. And so, but that's what I'm learning how to manage, because if I'm out walking around and doing this stuff by walking around the home, right, which is the wilderness, and there's rattlesnake dens
There's
around.
a snake in the kitchen. It's right over here, right by the redwood, right there in the kitchen.
Okay, we're gonna. All right. My mom's pregnant at the time with my
Jesus
second sister,
Christ.
and there's a time that a rattlesnake was sitting there poised and ready to strike behind her in a bush while we're sitting
Come
there.
on.
I'm not joking you. And my stepfather's having to warn her, but make sure he's not scared, striking the snake at the, or at the same time.
I got anxiety hearing that. I can't. I don't like
Okay,
snakes.
I got a good. So anyway, it's
tell
I
me
had
about
to
this.
learn how to be able to manage those because they're going to be around, and so you.
So you went that you picked it up?
No, what you do
Okay.
is you always walk with a stick
Okay.
with a Y in the end. So it's cut, and by Y I mean like about the length of your finger, V'd at the end. And so what you do is you have to, once they're coiled, you got to understand that they can strike about 2 times as far as what they look like.
I've learned that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you tease it, it'll come out and strike, and then you catch that right over the head, right behind the head, right? So
What are you talking about?
And
Wait,
then
it
while you're
strikes
holding it
the-
down, then you're holding it down, you reach down, you grab it, right? And then
But
if you have
that Y's got to be
Yes.
small enough too to
Yeah.
pin it against
Exactly.
the ground. Yeah, man. There's a lot of mistakes you can make here. A lot
and
of
then
mistakes.
and then you can grab it safely, right? And then you have to know where to cut the head off too, because we're going to eat it.
Right.
We're going to
yeah.
skin it because we're going to sell we don't have any money.
Mhm.
So they were attempting to grow weed and doing other stuff, but we had no money. Like we had nothing. Otherwise, we'd probably have a home to live in, and they would drive to the right, right.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna sell the skin,
and you're gonna
eat
the meat.
The snake. Yeah, I've had rattlesnake,
but you got to cut it,
bad.
right behind. You got to know where the venom sacs are, which are in the neck behind the head. But it was a lesson learned of how to actually be safe. But at the same time, mentally learning
by doing the most dangerous shit you can.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Well, it's the environment I lived in. Now, here's a funny story about my mom being pregnant, okay? My mom is a tough cookie. I've learned so much from her.
Only white people would do this shit. Black people, if there's ghosts or snakes, they're fucking like, we're moving, man. We are not fucking moving. They're like, nah.
So my mom goes in, though she's going into labor. And so she has to hike out to the dirt road and wait for somebody to drive along. The first person to come along for some reason was a dump truck.
Wait, she has to hitchhike? Because this is what year?
1982.
And how many kids already are there?
3.
So dad's now back with the 3 kids at home, and mom has to walk.
No, I'm probably watching. So I grew up watching, taking care of the family.
But you're 6.
Yeah.
But I hear you. Yep. But you're 6.
Well,
you're over there handling rattlesnakes. So you know what? You're already 14.
I had no childhood.
You jumped a lot of years that day, bro.
Yeah.
So mom walks to the road to thumb it to get taken in town to a hospital.
Yes.
And how far is that?
That's so long ago, I don't remember.
And you're letting your wife get into the first fucking car that could be a lunatic.
Yeah.
But a dump truck rolls by.
Truck rolls by.
And he picks her up.
He picks her up, except...
Do you guys see this?
No.
This
is
is her...
It's probably like at least a mile away. Right? So...
I can't even now.
Apparently, I don't know why there was 2 people in the truck. There wasn't room for her, so she has to climb in the bed of the dump truck.
Get the fuck out of here!
And they drive to town, which is probably 45 minutes, an hour down into like society, and they drive up to the hospital. And my mom climbs out of the bed of the dump truck, goes in the hospital, and delivers my sister.
I'd have been like, dump me, just pull it and dump me. I'll slide out of the back.
So that
they delivered your mom to the hospital in a dump truck. So
yes, in the back of a dump truck. Yes.
That's insane. Your mom is a soldier, bro.
Oh, you have no idea. Well, when we get into the nasty stories later, you'll realize just how much of a tough cookie she is.
Okay.
So, and when I tell the stories about my upbringing, my people are like, "Oh, your family must be, not that bright, or mountain folk, or white trash, or all this sort of stuff." And we look the part. I mean, we go into town and clothes are dirty, high water pants, knees sticking through, not as a fashion statement.
I went to school
like Ash over there with the torn out jeans.
He pays for those holes, though.
No. We were the original when it wasn't cool to have.
I'm getting
torn out
those
jeans,
when he's
right?
done with them. Yeah.
And yeah, people.
This is a question I want to ask you about your mom and your dad's relationship for a minute. Are they on the same page, or are they fighting? Like, I feel like if you're gonna make a wilderness family work, you better be on the same fucking page.
My mom was in control. So she always had men that were going to do what she wanted. And I don't know how she did that, but
I think we know how she did that.
I think that's what she did that.
So, okay. I think we know
so,
how she probably did that.
she was going to school to be a chemical engineer, had a scholarship, was top of her classes. She was
before she had her first kid?
Yeah, before me.
Okay.
I was the first.
Oh, you're first.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, she was still going to school with me. And then she had some, we're not going to get into her life, but she had some really rough trauma in her childhood. Some really bad shit happened. And authority, not her deal. And she basically decided that she did not want to live as part of society. And so she still lives in kind of the environment that we're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
what does she live in, though, for real?
She's
Cabin or?
She's got a mobile home.
Okay.
In a town of about 100 people. In a county, I think there's 800 people total in the county.
No shit.
Out in the desert. And she's a miner. She's got, she does rocks and things like that, and doesn't like being around people.
Yeah.
And she's lived her life 100% on her terms. And so this was the early of trying to figure out how to make a living, in being, not a living, but just, the lifestyle, the being outside of what we're used to. And she did that. And in essence, when we get to it, I've kind of end up doing the same thing, but within society. But
I was going to say, you're not that person.
So I forgot where I was going.
You're back to your rattlesnakes, your mom's dump truck. She has a baby. She comes back.
Oh yeah. So I was just saying,
this is
it's
child number 4. Correct?
It was a choice. Yeah.
Yes, it's a choice.
It was
your
a choice.
parents. I was asking if they're on the same page, but you're like, your mom's running the show.
My mom's running the show. He was along for the ride, and yeah. So that's
except on that dump truck, your mom rolled solo on that, bro.
Yeah. So, but.
So what happens then? How long are you there before, and are you being, I mean, I don't even want to use the term homeschooled. You don't even really have a fucking home. Are you being tree fort schooled? Like, how are you being educated?
I went to school.
Okay, so they did send
usually summertime we were 100% in the mountains.
Got it.
And then that's why I said it may be a condemned home. It may be a home without running water or electricity or something like that. Or sometimes it was through the winter or through the school year. We would go closer to town, and I would be enrolled in school, and my sisters were enrolled in school later, and so that's where, kind of rough upbringing for me. Just like I did not relate to people very well.
I wanted to ask you, like, did it ever? Because this is what's crazy about trauma and our lives, like the weirdness and all that shit. When you're, it's normal to you. It's what
normal.
you know. You don't know a fucking thing. But what happens when you get to school? Do you spend the night at friends' homes? Do they ever ask to come to yours? Like, what is that sort of like?
Definitely didn't have friends at my place. And actually, I've got a really, really sad story about that was really early on that kind of shut a lot of that down for me. This was in a very remote town in called Palm out in Northern California, again, out on the Trinity. Like, you get to an hour, you get to a town of 5,000 people, and then another hour, you get to this little town that's got, a one-room schoolhouse and a little general store. And I had a friend, and this was first grade, and I started staying the night at his house because it was nice.
That's what I'm saying. That's got to be a castle.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I ended up staying the night every night at his house for like a week, right? And I asked my parents, like, hey, I want to spend the night at his house again. They're like, no, you can't because you're imposing on them. My parents never wanted to ask for charity or ask for help or do we didn't. They were we're on our own, very proud. And we got in a fight. Like, I threw a tantrum. It was when your fight was not really the correct term when you're in first grade, right? And I remember that. I was throwing a tantrum. I went home. I was, cried in my room. I was all upset. And that next morning, I found out the house burnt down, and the entire family died in it.
No.
Yeah. I didn't speak for a year.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
From like what, age 6 to 7, somewhere in there? You didn't speak for a year?
Yeah.
What? Oh man, you got so many stories. All right, let's talk about that for a moment. How do you come out of that?
It's tough. I don't really.
You don't even speak with your family. I don't really remember.
So, here's the thing though. At the end of the year, we're up in the mountains again, and there's been a couple interactions with some police officers. So they come out. They're based way far away, and there's this police officer, and people are known for like kind of disappearing around the guy, right? And they would be out in these remote communities, and the people, like, their stories running like, hey, what happened to so and so? And so he shows up at our where we were staying. This there used to be a mill, and there were some homes for people that worked the mill, and they were really torn down, and that's where we lived.
Okay,
right. It was this little string of I don't know what you call, but rundown shacks, and he comes up to the door and knocks on the door, and Mom's opened it, and there's a pile of weed on the table, and he's like, I'm arresting you, taking you in. And she knows the stories, and she says, Chris, you got to run and find Pat, my stepfather. And so I take off, and I find him, partying, down the road a half mile away or so ago. And I'm like, hey, you need to come back. And Mom says, bring people. So they come back and they watch, and everybody's
It's just
there.
one cop?
There's two cops.
Two, okay.
And they just observe, because that's all she wanted to know, was make sure people knew that she was being taken into custody. And so for some reason, they got pissed about that. So they ended up not even just taking her to the jail in that county. They went to the county over. It was even further away, because they knew it would be hard for us to get to her, because vehicles and things like that is a challenge. You got to find somebody to get a car so you can go there. And it's hours away, through.
Oh, it's hours.
Yeah.
Shit.
We're out in the Trinity Alps. It's like this mountain range. Like everywhere you go is these big windy roads. Like it's remote. Mm-hmm. And that plays really important into this story. So that was during the school year. And then that summer, we're up in the mountains and we're camped out. It was like in the morning.
Is she still in jail at this time?
No,
or
she's out. So
now?
it took a few days, got her out, and we're up there. So it's Mom and Pat are still around. It's in the morning, and we're set up, our camp set up, so we can see the road coming up the mountain from miles in advance, and we see a bunch of police cars coming up. And Mom's like, Chris, you got to watch the kids. She takes off, Pat takes off, right? So she's out killing her local grow site, which is just their actual, their supply. And I don't know what Pat's doing, because the commercial grow sites are a long ways away. And police show up and they take all of his kids into custody.
So I just want to understand, there's 4 children just sitting there when the cops show up, you being the
5
oldest?
at this point.
5.
Yep.
And you being the oldest. And it's just like, where are your parents? You're like, man, just us right here hanging out.
Yeah.
I got to ask, where did you guys go to the bathroom? What, just outside? Is that all you did?
Yeah, I mean, you dig a hole.
Outside?
Yeah, you dig a hole, you bury it,
Where'd you shower?
So the best way to shower is you take gallon jugs to the stream and you fill them up, right? And then you go out and you find a sunny spot on a rock and you set them out there. And I did this all the way up through high school. You set them out on a rock during the sun.
Warm up?
And they warm up. And at the end of the day, you dump them over your head.
I love you, dude.
No, that's it.
Through high school, you did that. That's what I'm saying. I hear shit like this. I'm like,
high school when we were in Oregon, and we definitely didn't camp. I mean, we'd live in trailers through the winter. We had a 16-foot trailer, family that size in a 16-foot trailer, which I don't know. That's the size of this room. Right?
Yeah, it's nothing.
Like
this
there's
is 10
there's
by
nowhere
10.
to room.
Add
This is your
another
spot,
5
and you
feet.
sit there, and that's it. And then you roll it out, and then you sleep. You don't even move. So I would be wandering around. But anyway, you would heat the water on the wood stove and step out the back door in the snow and dump it over your head to bathe. Like this is the way I live.
That's amazing. I'm sorry. I took you off on a tangent.
But
so
this
the
story,
police show up.
the police show up. This is a really critical story.
Your mom's cutting the personal stash. We don't know where the fuck Pat is, and they take the 5
They take
kids.
my sisters, my brother. They're all just
What are they?
in the
What's
back
the
of
youngest?
car. She's 9 months.
Months.
9
You got
months.
an infant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I might get emotional in this part of the story, just the way it goes.
I'm getting emotional.
And so, yeah, it was a little weird experience. I still reflect on it today because we're in the car and my sisters are all bawling in the back. And I'm just sitting in the front with no emotion whatsoever. And I'm like inwardly going, what's wrong with me? Why am I, and I'm just a kid. Like I'm second grade. I think I was second grade at the time. And I'm like, why am I not responding to this situation? I'm sitting here asking the police officer about is my inner dialogue about his radio stuff and other things in the car, because it was fascinating to me because I hadn't seen anything like that,
Yeah.
But we end up getting taken and put in foster care. My mom they catch my mom, they throw her in jail.
Oh shit.
And my mom is in jail for a few months. I don't remember what the charges exactly were. And she has a dream. And she's like, there's something funny about this cop, who's now the sheriff, what people disappear around him. And the way the Child Protective Services and the things that she's seen, she's like, something's clicking. She's like, this is not good. And she contacted the DA. and told them the story. And he is like, I believe you. And they investigated.
So hold on. So this now sheriff has a past history of people disappearing around him.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Child Protective Services. They're somehow
Again,
involved
remember,
with
this
him,
is-
or he's
Well, that's where they take us, and then they move.
Right.
And then this happens with other people because this happen. You know, they're helping these.
they take these marijuana
they're
farmers,
taking
they take
these
their children.
these people in the remote areas that nobody cares about because they're trash. Right.
right. Who's going to care
To
about
these
those
bigger
people?
cities far away and put them in these areas.
And are all of you children, you and your siblings, are you guys all together in this one
No.
place? They've separated.
They
you.
separated.
How many? Everyone in a different place? Or?
My sisters were all together with the same person
Okay.
because it was a human trafficking ring.
Ugh. The cops are
They-
in on this shit?
Yes.
How's your mom fucking put that together?
I don't know, but this is real deal. This was in national news.
Please tell me everything.
They caught the man that had my sisters as he was boarding a plane to leave the country.
He was trying to take him out.
Sorry,
of the
I'm
country?
getting a little. No, he was trying to
he was
escape once
running. Got
he
it.
was running, but they were prepping to sell him.
To what? Tell me to what? To who? Do you guys know where that?
I don't know. So the sheriff went to prison,
He did.
and a number of the police officers, and this person, his name was Jamie Bodison. I do remember that. My memory around these times are
That's
really
the
tough.
guy
I
that
don't.
was running.
That was the guy that had my sisters.
Sisters. Okay.
Yeah.
So your sisters were placed with this man,
Yeah.
which already is fucked up.
Well, it was a family,
Sure.
right? Yeah, but yeah.
And they had done. Go, please.
We're just going to leave the story here and move on.
Okay.
But, yeah.
But were you and your brother were together then?
My brother actually he had a different father, and he ended up being taken by them.
Okay.
And that's a really rough story too. Maybe we'll touch on it later.
Sure.
So he's up in the mountains right now, just out of prison. I think he's got a generator, got some water from a stream.
Keeping it OG.
And he's still there. He's still there. He's still doing it in the same area, still doing the same thing, just living. He's got a lot of shit to deal with, and I'm trying to help him, but there's only so much you can do for someone. So,
So they then let your mom out of jail?
Yes.
Okay.
Mom gets out of jail, and
These people
they're still
fucking
working
go
that, so
away.
she can't take
Yeah.
us yet because they're like, well, you guys don't even have a home. You don't have there's still issues, right? So my grandparents from Idaho rush down. I got pictures of us picking us up in the courthouse after all this, and they take us back there, and so we spend the summer with grandparents before parents make a home in
Your
Oregon.
mom's parents?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, her mother. So they move up to Oregon, her and Pat, my stepfather, my sister's father, and set up a home. Hey, we're gonna get out of the drug trade. Can't ever have this opportunity of losing the kids again. And so they were able to get us back. And then we spent about a year being quasi-normal there before, Mom's just like, this need to get back to being away from people. And so they moved into the mountains again and picked up kind of mining, logging, things like that, living in tents. And so where the 16-foot trailer came in.
There's 7 of you in there.
Well, not my brother, though.
Okay, that's right. He went
Yeah,
back.
so
Okay,
it was down to
6 of you.
6 of us in a 16-foot trailer. And so I'd walk.
Jesus.
So I just walk around the.
You'd have to leave to get any
I
privacy.
did, but it's cold. It's Oregon. In winter, there's a, we're right off the road. There's a stream running by, but it's frozen over. So I'd ice skate with my shoes up and down the stream into the mountains and back and go hiking. I'd hike all over the mountains by myself, and that's what I did. And then during the summer, I'd help with either logging or mining. So a lot of time just work. It's my whole life, a very physical type stuff. And then,
So can I ask you, because we've talked about Pat, what you've said is your stepfather. Did you have a relationship with your biological father? Did you ever?
I did. So my biological father was he. Oh gosh. he didn't have a job because he was the major bipolar depressive, runs in the family. So his mother shot her head off with a shotgun. His brother jumped out of a building here in L.A.
Oh my God!
It goes all the way back. So I don't have a family on that side. He attempted suicide, I think, about 7 times. I watched one of them.
What do you mean?
He poured himself with gasoline and stood there with a lighter, threatening to kill himself.
Listen, so, I'm not laughing at that. I can't believe the shit you were telling me. Not that I think you're lying. I am just in disbelief. Like he stood in front of you and covered himself, poured gas, and then threatened to do it, or did try to do it.
Yep. And then he ended up. He told me to call someone, which was his AA person, and they came and got him. And I didn't tell
he waited till the last second to make that call.
I didn't tell my mom because I knew I wouldn't be allowed to see him anymore. So I went and stayed with some of his friends for the rest of the week or 2 weeks during the summer that I'd go see him with some family. I didn't know who it was, but I couldn't let that happen. But yeah, he was an interesting man. He spent like 3 years in Tibet, up in the monasteries.
Man.
Very spiritual. Got me into meditation at an early age. We'd all see these spiritual, people, and I learned a lot from him, but he just wasn't capable. That's why he was okay with my mom, taking me. He knew he couldn't manage being a father and raising me.
Okay.
And also, my mom said that she'd freaking kill him. I read it in a letter.
So your mom
I found that in a
ran
letter too. After he passed, I was reading through my stuff. I'm like, that's my fucking mom right there. And she's hard as fuck. She's like, this is the way it is. I love you. I've always loved you. Don't fucking try to. This is what she wrote him from prison or from jail when I wasn't. So that's why he didn't come and take me, because she's like, you're not taking my son. You know what'll happen. And so
from prison, she had that power.
Yeah,
that's power.
So
you said your dad passed?
He passed. Yeah. So we had an interesting. He dealt with alcohol his whole life. I mean, I remember I'd just jump on a bus, go down and see him, figure out my way to route. Like I can't believe I do this. Like, 4th, 5th grade, I would be like, "Hey, Mom, I'm gonna go see my dad for the summer." She's like, "You talked to him, right?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, And I sent him a letter like a month ago saying I was gonna come see him. She's like, "Okay." And I'd get a $14 Greyhound bus ticket down to San Francisco, and I'd figure out the bus route from San Francisco up to Santa Rosa and show up at his place. Like, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I reflect back, I'm like, but there was one time I showed up in San Francisco and I couldn't remember the route to get to his house, so I tried calling him, and the phone kept buzzing. So I'm stuck in San Francisco Greyhound station for like a day trying to talk to the operators because break the call with my dad. And they're like, we can't do that. And I'm like, hey, come on. I'm like a 12-year-old kid here in San Francisco. I'm freaking out. And so we'll break the line. Turns out he was drunk and melted the phone line together.
And he melted it.
Yeah. So it read as busy, and but they could get through. And so he he's all worried. So he paid for a taxi from San Francisco to Santa Rosa for me, which was hundreds of dollars at the time. That was a lot of money back then.
Hell yeah.
There's another time I show up and I'm like, he's like, I got to walk down to get you. And I can see him coming from a long ways away. And he's got piss lines upon piss lines on his sweater and his shirt because he'd been in bed for 2 weeks and hadn't got out.
No way.
And he'd just been pissing himself because that'd require getting up. And yeah, so it was an interesting relationship. But he passed, and it was a really crazy experience.
Were you any chance you were there? Or did you get to see him before he passed, or was it sudden, or what?
It was. I was sitting in Oregon. By this time, I was working as a professional, and it was Friday. It was Friday afternoon, the last day before Christmas shutdown for the manufacturing facility, and I'm in the gym. I'm in the gym locker room, just post-workout, sitting on the bench, getting ready to put my clothes on and figure out, hanging out with friends and stuff like that over the next couple of weeks and what I was going to do. Phone rings on the bench, and it's sheriff. He's like, "Hey, this is the sheriff for Mendocino County. Your father passed away. It's been a couple weeks ago, but we've had trouble finding you, and you're the only family member. We need you to come down here and take care of his effects."
Family member left.
Yes.
Oh.
And so anyway, I go down, I take care of everything, get him cremated, and he's living in a housing complex for people, and I just put all his stuff out in the middle so that people could take all his books. My whole family's avid readers. That's all we ever do is read. My mom, my stepfather, everything. We didn't have TV. We didn't have radio.
You didn't
the
have
library
any of
was.
that.
I mean, we would get stacks of books. We're so like that's my family is like. We may have been a white trash mountain folk, but we were
well-versed
we were
and
well
well-read.
versed like that. Yeah, that was what we did.
Yeah.
And so a year later, I'm sitting in the same gym, Friday before Christmas break. Last day of work, finished up my workout, sitting on the bench, the cell phone rings. Pick it up. Hey, this is the sheriff for Deschutes County. Your stepfather's passed away. We know that you're not the biological son, but what we understand is you're the one in the family that takes care of things. You need to come over here and do that. And
it's the same like time, everything.
fucking day. I'm
How many years later?
1 year.
Just one.
1 year. Not the same exact day of the month,
Right,
but the
right.
same
The time
the same,
frame.
the same like in my world, the same thing. It's Friday, right before like I'm sitting in the same spot, same
That's
bench. Just
nuts.
finished my workout. It's fucking right there, and
I'd get the fuck out of that locker room.
so that was the last time
The last time I did
I quit that job and decided I was going to take a year off actually right after that.
Scared
But-
to piss in that bathroom.
But so I drive over. My sisters actually they stepped up and took care of everything, which is interesting, by the way. I raised my 3 sisters, we'll talk. So they're like, brother, you've been taking care of us. We got this. And so they took care of everything. But this is what struck home for me. And this has had a huge effect on my life. They left with nothing. The only people that they had, my stepfather had his daughters. They were the world to him. My father had me. It was the same. It was everything. That's the only thing he had. And I've told some stories that may paint them in a bad light, but there's lots of positive things as well. And you got to look at those things. But the only thing that they left still was just mixed emotion, a mixed bag of like, wow, I don't know. There's so much positive and negative and all this. No mark on the world other than that. And that mark was a mixed bag. And
And that resonated with you.
it resonated with me.
Why? You didn't want to be like
I didn't want to be like that. I knew I wanted to leave this world a better place, and I wanted the people that I've been around and touched in my life to know I was fucking there.
That's all. I'd say it all the time. All you have to do is be there. That's it. Show genuine interest and just be there. None of the other shit matters. You guys, you're living in tree forts, for Christ's sake. You're living in fucking tree forts. You got other kids with these palatial mansions, and they're crying because they don't get to drive fucking, 6-figure SUVs and bullshit. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
All you really need is to be there.
I get frustrated sometimes when people talk about, being poor, and it's like, look around. You've got the gaming center, you got your fancy phone, you got nice clothes. Like, you're not fucking poor. I'm sorry.
You're not.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
And I'm like, it may be a struggle. You may have some challenge and anxiety. I don't want to, but also at the same time, be thankful for what you had, because I was thankful for what I had when I grew up. And I can tell you all the lessons that I learned about it to make me a better person in this world today.
So what I want to ask you is, after hearing all these stories, growing up in literally go ahead, please.
Let me tell you
Sure.
just 2 more tidbits. So this is a funny story. Well, okay, it's a dark story, but
You mean as compared to the light ones
So-
you shared so
So it's Thanksgiving. This is high school. We actually had, so in high school, I finally had a stable, like a mobile home that we lived in. And it had running water, had electricity. The doors were curtains.
Are you using kerosene heaters inside? We used to use kerosene heaters all the time in our apartments.
No, it was electric heat. So the little baseboard heaters. And they wouldn't keep up, so like you'd figure out the oven would be open. You'd fill the bathtub with hot water so that the heat you'd be pulling the heat from the water heater too. But because the windows were crank closed, but they wouldn't close, so you're covering them with plastic and things like that. And we had to do a 2x4 framed kitchen to put a sink in, so we'd have a counter and stuff because there was no kitchen in the place. But it was fucking stable for 4 years. I was in high school, and it worked great, but we just still struggled. So one Thanksgiving, it's getting tight, and like maybe it was like 8 weeks before Thanksgiving, we'd end up getting these pet rabbits because they were free on the nickel ads. So Pat runs over, gets these pet rabbits, and we each of my sisters gets one.
I got a feeling one of them ain't gonna make it.
And there might have been some foreboding because they were named breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Come
right?
on, man.
And so they're my sisters, like babies, for like 6 to 8 weeks. And Thanksgiving rolls around, and Pat comes and he's like, Chris, we don't got a turkey this year. We can't afford one. Let's go out back. It's Thanksgiving morning. We go out there, twist the heads of the bunnies.
All three?
All of them.
Is that how you do it? I don't even know how you kill a rabbit. You twist its head?
Hold it between.
Or is that
It
just how
is
Pat did
one
it?
of the ways. That's the way. Pat wasn't necessarily the best about some things like this. So, I was
You
just
know we
talking to
got
my
a meat
mom the other
cleaver.
day, and she was like, I was
got a
talking
machete
about this like this lamb or the sheep we found, and like my mom's like, yeah, I had to finish that, but he tried it with a baseball bat or something. Anyway,
Jesus Christ.
porcupine killing's an interesting thing too, because we ate all sorts of shit. So
You ate porcupine?
oh yeah, we
What
ate
is
porcupine.
that like?
We
That's
ate all
gotta
kinds
be-
of
is that
mushrooms.
tough?
Yeah, you got to skin it right away, but it's a little tough. It's a red meat. But you got to get that hide off of it right away. But man, they got a thick skull. It's
Joe Pesci's out there beating the fuck out of
that's how you do it, because you could shoot them with a 22 over and over again, and they still keep moving.
For real? A
They'll
22
knock them out of the
won't
tree.
knock-
And,
That's all it-
and you got to
pisses
hit
them
them,
off.
and people are going to hate this podcast. They're like, you're horrible. Oh, you're highlighting killing animals. Like, no, do you understand? We had to
That was
do this.
food.
We have to do this
That
to
was
live.
food. Tell
Like, yeah,
me, is that right?
That was
It was
food.
food.
That
There
was
it is.
food.
There, you're not.
Like, that's
feeding
what
it.
freaking
Yeah.
ate.
You're not
Along
out
with
there target
go pick a
practicing on- yeah.
puffball down from the stream and slice it up and grill it. You know, like anyway. So we're sitting at the table because it's all day. My sisters have been just bawling. And they're sitting down, and each of them are eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast
And
is tender.
my youngest sister, she looks at me, she's like, dinner tastes so good. And she still has the streaks through the dirt running through her face from the earlier in the day because they've been all there all day. That's a pretty dark story. Anyway.
That's a dark Thanksgiving, dude.
So I'll just sum up the rest of my younger ages. So in 2 minutes. So I went off to college. By the way, I was
amazing.
I was valedictorian. I was a state level athlete
Of high school?
Yeah, and
You're performing athletically and academically
Yes.
like that from living in a trailer at this point, at least, but coming from the wilderness. And good for you.
and
dude.
so I got a full ride academic scholarship to go to school.
Damn, you got an academic scholarship.
Pursued a double engineering degree. Couldn't go back home. I didn't I didn't call home for a couple about a year and a half because
I got to ask you,
anytime I called, they'd ask for money.
first time you got your own
Did you
apartment or something? Yeah, of course they asked for money right away.
I seriously,
Of
I was
course.
going to school and I'd give them money because I was working full time too. So I got a job. I was working 30 to 40 hours a week.
In
going
high
to
school?
I was working
Oh,
in
in
high school.
college.
I was working in high school too.
You were.
Yeah. Evenings and weekends. And then in college, I worked full time while doing the dual engineering degree. Bought
And
my
it was-
first house when I was 21 years old.
21.
Yeah.
What was it like to fucking buy a house going from what you come from? That's what I want to ask. What is that like?
It was pretty cool, and I needed to because I was raising my sisters.
So you took them with
I
you.
took custody of my
Good
three
man,
sisters.
all right. You took
So-
full custody.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I took full
And how old
custody.
were they when you took them in?
I didn't take them all at once, so they were. I think Melissa was 13 when Pat kicked her out in the snow, because
That, bro.
what?
That's his daughter, right?
That's his daughter, but he thought she stole his favorite cereal bowl. They're going a little crazy by this point. By the way, he's going a little crazy. Mom had left him. She'd had a mental breakdown, and she was out in Montana. And so he had the girls, and he was not capable and was on a decline. And so, yeah, he kicked out. The youngest was living with a friend, and the second was actually in juvie. And the oldest, who was 13 at the time, was living with him. And he kicked her out in the snow because he found it later on top of the refrigerator. But anyway.
Sorry about that.
So I took her first.
It was right next to the Lucky Charms, man. I didn't think to look there.
and then... I know there's so sad, but they're pretty fucking funny. Like me and my sisters get around. We laugh about this shit all the time.
That's all you
there's
can
so
do.
many little
What
ones
can you
that you
fucking
can't
do? Yeah.
that are just fucking crazy. Like you're just like, what the fuck is this? So, I take custody of her. I take custody of Janice, the middle one, when she gets out of juvie, and then when Pat died, there was a farce that she was saying the youngest was living with Pat. And so I had to take. That's when I got custody of her because she had a good kind of friend's parent she was living with, but she was going to get taken by the state. So I got her at that time. So I ended up raising all of them through their teenage years, from 14-ish through 19 or however long it was to where they were out.
This job's affording you the financial freedom to do that for the four of you?
Well, I lived in Southern Oregon in it was a cheap place. And so I only had the two at the time. So I had two there. And then, I was working on advancing my career. Apparently I was for some reason, this kid that didn't communicate well with people, was laughed at, whatever, growing up. Wasn't socialized very well. I presented myself really authentically in the world, and like people connected, and I didn't know why, because I wasn't like this super extroverted, articulate person, motivating or anything that I thought like leaders were. But I was doing really well. And so I was in Southern Oregon in a small town. Portland's the big town in Oregon, so it's on the other side of the state. And the oldest sister by this time was 18, 19, and I said, "The house is yours." And I took the middle sister, and I moved to Portland and started working on my MBA, and took a new job up there. And that's where I took custody of the youngest as well.
Damn, good
so it was
for
all
you,
big
Chris.
steps. So, so then I led this whole executive career doing company turnarounds, running automotive and aerospace companies, and fixing them, prepping them for sale,
went
like all
from
sorts
the
of shit.
goddamn
I know.
tree fort to aerospace.
Yes, I know.
That's range, man.
It is
That is
range,
fucking
a
range, bro.
yes. and that's where like I don't like to tell like my story. Yeah, there's some rough stuff, but it was just different. It's different than most people, and I learned a lot from it. But the thing that I have from value is I've had a huge scope of my life that most people haven't seen. Same time, I also lifted a lot of weights and did some other things in that world too. So,
Let me ask you this. Coming again from your upbringing, what's the one thing that you've done in your life with your money that you never would have thought you'd be doing?
I'm working on my pilot's license right now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
crazy, yeah.
So, but I don't know. I don't really live. The only brand new vehicle I bought was in 2005. I just like making stuff and doing stuff and creating. So, like, I'm not a big. My house is nowhere near like what I could. I don't know. I can't say that.
Well, it's obvious. I say it all the time. My trauma, your trauma, it wouldn't have felt any better, any different with this palatial mansion, with this like mental illness is mental illness. Mental illness doesn't give a fuck how much money you have. Mental illness doesn't give a shit if you're, a billionaire. If you're sick, you're sick. It doesn't give a shit about class or race or anything.
You know what is okay? The one thing, because again, I don't have a lot. Like I don't have a mansion. I don't have a bunch of fancy cars. I don't have that. That's not my thing.
That's also not success. That doesn't mean success.
But what I do have is I've got 3 different companies. I've got the largest one has over 50 employees, and it's a globally recognized brand, and we're doing things in the world to help people live better quality of life, to get people out of pain. And it's crazy. I work in this circle. I work with people that are the largest known public figures, the biggest sports stars in the world, the best clinicians in the world, the best. I have this like network of people that I work with. It is so crazy diverse. It blows my mind when I sit there and I look at who I sit there and text message and podcast like, oh, there's the best physical therapist in the world, and that's the best spine biomechanist in the world, and that's arguably the best orthopedic surgeon. And I just dropped an offer, and hopefully that was Dwayne Johnson that just read my book, and the starting line for the LA Lakers, they have my equipment at the Lakers at their trainer's home and at their personal home. And 90+% of all sports, in professional sports in North America, 600 plus colleges, any big name that you can think of, all the actors for the action movie stars and stuff like that, the sets they're training on, they're using our equipment. Like, that's fucking cool.
That's awesome.
And the better thing is, I get a message almost every day from someone around the globe saying, you changed my life.
Gratitude, yeah.
I was in pain. It was messing with my every aspect of my life. It was debilitating. I watched some of your videos, which are free, put it in place. I went to the gym. I just hit my old squat max for a triple, and I'm in zero pain. It's the clinician saying, I used your methods, and I've got this 65-year-old grandmother. In 30 minutes, I got her out of pain, and I had her crying because she knew that she was going to be able to pick up her grandchild that she couldn't pick up.
Wow.
It was the person that says, I've read your book 3 times. I had to give it to my mom. It is our go-to because of the impact it's had on us understanding how to live with stress and trauma and look forward in life and how much you can accomplish.
So let me ask you.
That's fucking cool.
That's amazing. It's amazing and good for you. So what was it in your life that made you, because we talked before the show, like, what makes you want to give back? Because some people never even deal with the trauma. Some people work on it forever. Like, I'm sure the people in your family who have mental illness tried, and maybe they found another way to relieve their stress. What made you want to turn around and go, hey, I want to help? Not only did I want to help myself and my sisters, like, which is, if that's all you ever did, excuse me, that's amazing. But what made you want to help anyone out there, I should say?
Well, my prior career, I was doing company turnarounds. To me, my big thing that I just loved, that I cared about, that I really enjoyed in that was the impact I was having. Because you do that through changing people, through getting people to take on more that they think that they're personally can accomplish and being able to accomplish it. And then the impact that has. And that's how you create this cultural change on an individual level. And that was powerful. Being a mentor, and helping people understand that turning into challenge, turning into the things that scare you can lead to a better quality of life. At the same time, I owned a gym on the side, and I was training to be the strongest person in the world. And I was coaching people in the evenings for free that showed up to our gym. Anybody, I'd mentor them, and the same thing. Like, I'd get more power out of somebody hitting a personal record or getting out of pain or doing something than I did by setting a world record. So I knew.
You did set it?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You were at one point the strongest man in the world?
I set the all-time record for the squat on 2 occasions. I was ranked number 1 in the world for 8 years straight. And then over the last 6 years, I trained for something very particular. I am the only person still standing who has both squatted 1,000 pounds and deadlifted 1,000 pounds and done it for reps. Nobody else in the world is. I did it both for 3 reps.
Holy shit!
So
you squatted 1,000 pounds 3 times,
and I deadlifted 1,000 pounds for 3 times. So there's specialists. There's people that have done one or the other.
Sure.
There's about 5 or 6 people on either side that have done one or the other. No one's close to doing both.
This is what I read.
I've done both.
You're the only human on earth.
And I did the deadlift was a sumo style. It's in the records only count for 1 rep, but I just wanted to leave no doubt in the tank. That's why I did more. It's still standing as the Guinness World Record.
Wow. Good for you, man.
Anyway, but I love the other part of it more. And I'm sitting there. My kids are getting a little older. I'm in my hot tub one morning. And kids are waking up. And I'm thinking about them. You know how old they are? My son's about well, that's how old was this? This is he's 12 now. Yeah, so he's about 6 years old. And my second child, she was 3 years old, and 4, and 4, 6 and 4, and I'm thinking about them, and I'm thinking about them being in the situation I was.
I do that shit too.
And I started crying. And
Imagine looking at your 6-year-old and being like, Jesus Christ, when I was 6, I'm fucking getting taken by the police and handling you got a 9-month-old.
I think it didn't strike me as trauma at the time. It was just life. And then when a kid started, and that's when it was like, oh fuck! That's when the emotions started coming back.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. People don't realize that sometimes you're living it. You're dealing with it. You are. It's later when you look back on it, you're like, oh my God.
For me, it was survivor mentality. I was raising, even when I was younger, I was taking care of my sisters. I was raising my sisters. I had to be there present, even though I was still dealing with. Guess what? I've got the bipolar that runs in my family. My dad's side of the family. I got major fucking issues there. That's part of my life. I had to make sure that wasn't present. It didn't come to the forefront when I'm raising my sisters. I had to be there. There was nowhere else to fucking go. And so it just never hit. And then watching my kids. I was that morning in a hot tub. And I'm like, I got to do something else. I got to do something more in the world. I happened at the time to also be doing clinical continuing education. That's why I know a lot of the times I was just talking about, because at the time I was getting asked to speak at big events or at physical therapy or chiropractic colleges on the stuff that I was putting in place in my own training, the gym, the stuff, because I was kind of known for that stuff. Mm-hmm. Outside of my work environment, I was known as this phenomenal athlete and coach. And I'm like, I knew that I could help people beyond just the things that I was doing, and I could take that stuff that I was doing and take it to a whole nother level. And I had a great life. I had 2 homes. I was building a 3rd. I had a massive retirement. I had a house with a white picket fence, 2 kids, a marriage that was entirely comfortable. And I walked away from all of it.
All of it.
All of it.
The marriage, the jobs.
The house. I was living in an apartment. Had my kids half-time. And I was launching Kabuki Strength. Lost my entire retirement. Spent 3 years without a paycheck, running up every credit card I could.
Damn.
Negotiating the situation with the ex-wife, because the kids was the highest priority. That was the thing that kept me from doing that earlier. And so she's a great woman, and we were able to do that very well. We live 5 minutes apart. Kids are like, it's as good as it can get. Not a bad word's ever said in between either. And yeah, that was just a few years ago. But I knew what I wanted to do in the world and where I wanted to go. And I had a driving passion to do it. A driving passion to not just be lost to the wind like Pat and my dad.
Right.
To leave my freaking mark.
Well, you've definitely done that.
And so in 5 years, I built a globally recognized brand. I found an amazing woman, discovered what love is and passion, and in the home. Have a 3rd child, and my 2 oldest are just freaking phenomenal. With the youngest, she's 3 years old now, and launched 2 other companies as well. Wrote a best-selling book. Working on my next book, which is actually focused on kind of business and self-improvement specifically. The first one's an autobiography, and because resilience of body, mind, and soul are like, you have to have all 3. And yeah, my work is on the physical side because I'm a professional. I know my shit. My team knows their shit. We're the best. We're the best at what we do. We make tools that change the game. But the other 2 can't be forgotten. And that's why I do things like this. That's why I write my books. That's why I do this stuff, because we have to have all aspects of this.
Well,
resilience. It's freaking. I use that in place of strength, because people think, oh, it's about squatting big weight. No, it's about developing resilience so that when the things come at you in life, you're ready for it. You're ready for whatever's going to buffet your way. That every opportunity of the things, life's going to hit you, and you can figure out how to, you can't change that. You can't change the trauma. You can't change the bad shit that's happened to you. And I don't want to negate it, but you can use part of that if you know how to become a stronger version of yourself.
Yes.
Story I've been telling a lot lately is about trees in the biodome. Okay.
Share it.
They try to set up a special environment to separate it from the world to see how well it does, right? And they put trees in there. They grow to a certain height, and then they just fall over.
No roots at all.
Doesn't matter what type of tree, gets to a certain height, falls over. They finally figured out why. Has no wind. The wind hits it, and it says, you got to be strong. You need to spread these roots thick and strong in the ground. You got to take your bark and make it robust to withstand the weather and do all this resilience. So if you don't do that, you grow and kill yourself.
Fragile.
You kill yourself. You're fragile. And so you have to have stress in your life. Too much? Yeah, it can be a dangerous thing. So it's a balance. But we do not live. The process of dying starts when we don't have anything to adapt to. Trying to find that easy life, living in the mansion with no worries or on the beach in the Caribbean is death. If you don't have some stress and challenge, some things that scare you in life to be able to turn into and chase.
I love it, dude. We were talking before, and I said, you see, especially out here, and this is men and women, putting all this money into their hair or their face or their lips or their bodies or their abs or their ass and won't spend a fucking dime working on who they are. It's all about what I look like. And they're the same fucking broken, fucked up people that they always will be because they'll never put the work in on themselves. But here's the thing. They've had the trauma. They've had it. Their thing is, if I look a certain way, I'll feel a different way. Yeah. And that's the truth is You
need to turn back to the time that made you feel that way, made you feel that you had to have those things, and talk to that person.
That's right.
You do.
Be that friend to that person.
Because I've been that person. For me, my job is amazing. People ask me what my job is. My job is to be me. Look, I'm sitting here, I'm wearing my shorts. I dress up. I might put on some sweatpants. My hair's a mess.
You got that Lal Alzado vibe.
I don't freaking you know what? I'm bipolar. I'm ADHD, and I'm just kind of all over, whatever. And this is the way I walk in the world, and that's okay. I got faults aplenty, a lot of them, and that's fine.
That's just fine. Yes.
That is just fine.
So let me ask you this.
I got this video.
Go
So
ahead.
People should check out. I got this video called Unkempt. It's on my Instagram. Check it out. It's really, really great, but it's basically talking about, because people have been harassing me for a year about my hair, and I'm just like, this is me. I'm unkempt. I'm also on a lot of things. Check it out. It's a really good poem.
On a lot of All right, I ask all my first guests, after everything we've talked about now, what advice you would give to your 16-year-old self, and I'm curious what you would go back and tell 16-year-old Chris.
Oh, man.
I mean, at 16, you've already lived 3 fucking lifetimes.
Yeah, I was definitely an adult at that point in time. And that's part of the problem. I didn't have an opportunity to really sit back and figure out who I was for a long time. And this is a major struggle for me. I had different masks that I had to put on. Kabuki, the name of my company, because my nickname for a long time was Kabuki, man, to put on a mask. People would see me at work, and I'd be a completely different person than someone else that you might see somewhere else. Because I thought I had to be that way. And sure, I performed well, but that's what I do. I'm a performer. I'll get shit done. And it took a toll on me. It nearly killed me. Trying to be that and learning to walk that way. So it's introspection and the ability to turn into yourself. the ability to really find what your North Star is, the way that you want to live, the truly underlying values, not what society tells that you want to be or anything that you can actually ever really have, but they're things that you can move closer to. For me, just to give some depth to this is stuff like sense of family or community. It is continual learning. It is challenge and accomplishment. It is having a creative outlet. Those are 4 big ones. The creativity piece was one that I was really missing in my prior career. But you should end up with like 5 or 7 of these freaking nugget pieces that define who you are. And people, and this is what I did. I tried to chase. I need degrees. I need a career, the money, this, and like all these things that you try to figure out how to build a solid life. But when you switch gears like I did at almost 40 years old, in 5 years, I was able to create an amazing life. Yeah. That every aspect of what I want to do and the ability to spend 4 to 5 more hours a day with my family by cleaning the shit and the fluff out of it, because I knew exactly what and how I wanted to live and how I could pull the people into my life that I wanted that had the same shared stuff. It's transformative. What I've accomplished, I was successful as shit in my former career, but compared to what I am now and what I'm able to do based on who I want to be, it's a completely different game. And it's through that process of that inward turn to find those nuggets, to dig deeper, to peel back those layers. And that's what I drive people to do. And this is the process I kind of cover or drive people to in my book. Because I can't tell you what you want. You want the mansion and the fancy cars? That's fine.
Yeah,
no,
but go get
why?
it.
Why do you want those? Why? If it's a sense of, if it's because I know I want to take care of and have security for my family, and if I've got those things and I set that as you don't know why, but that could be the underlying thing. But if you don't know that, you could over leverage yourself getting those things and get the exact opposite of what you want in life. You could think,
man, say that again. Over leverage yourself and get the exact opposite.
Because you set your goals on the wrong thing.
That's
you
right.
set it on the
wrong reason.
That you didn't understand the why.
Right, the why.
I want to be an NFL player.
Why?
And then one random Saturday, your knee gets taken out, and now your life dream's shot. Why did you want to be an NFL player? There's probably a couple dozen other ways that you can realize the same things that you want in life if you understand why. And this isn't a Sunday afternoon project to try to figure out. This is an ongoing thing. There'll always be some revision. But once you've got that, then you can move past the setting the goals, the bucket list, all the other stuff that people go, I need to check the list and figure out what degree and what college I'm going to go to and what career I'm going to get and how much salary I need to have and when do I get married and and I need to visit here and I need to have this. I hate fucking bucket lists. So you have to know your North Star so you can properly figure out the ways that you can realize that.
That's great, dude. Please plug whatever you'd like again.
Oh, if people find value in stuff, read my book.
ChristopherDuffin.com.
ChristopherDuffin.com or ChrisDuffin.com. There's a free audio download, or if you've got an Audible, whatever, links to it as well, or you can just find it on Amazon. Signed copies are on Kabuki Strength if anybody wants it. Like I said, body, mind, and soul. So I'm a big believer. You have to have the physical component. That's why I make the products, the education, and have the coaching services that we do at Kabuki Strength. We work with the best of the best.
That's awesome, man.
And there's a reason for that because, And shoes, foot mechanics is number one global priority in the body. Foot mechanics number two. Number one is ability to manage and control spinal biomechanics as well as
back.
Breathing. Number one healthcare cost in America.
Back.
Back pain, not cancer, not diabetes, not heart disease. It's freaking crazy. And guess what? We all control it. And two of the big things is breathing and how we manage this diaphragm to pelvic floor relationship. We can change that game so fast. Second one beyond that is foot mechanics. And that's why I do shoe designs and have a shoe company. So Build Fast Formula. People are actually really into the performance side of things. You can take the next step up with that sort of stuff. But number one, you got to eat right. You got to train right. So that's the physical nature of stuff. But don't forget the other two.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. This has been fantastic, man. And congratulations on all your success. I mean, man, I got to get my ass. He made me feel like shit today, bro. I got to step my game up, bro. As always, Ryan Sickler on all social media, ryansickler.com. We'll talk to you all next week.